Hello, everyone. I'm Tyler Chrestman, and welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about the biggest topic going on in the world today, the war between Israel and Hamas. We're going to outline a couple things on the show, and I make no promises, but I am going to try not to curse. This topic upsets me like almost nothing else in the news can, and it has been demoralizing to watch the response of people in the West to what has been the worst mass murder of Jews since the Holocaust. I want to say right from the jump that Hamas is a terrorist organization, and I support Israel 100% in marching through Gaza and killing every single person who had a hand in planning or executing the terrorist attack that took place on October 7th. I make no bones about that. This is what I believe. This is what I support. You're seeing right now a lot of useful idiots in the West practice a moral confusion that I don't understand. They are marching in support of the Palestinian people. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But I want to start by addressing some of the misguided claims that a lot of these ignoramuses out in the street are shouting. Things like Israel is responsible for this attack because they're colonizers, or that Hamas is only reacting because Gaza is an apartheid state. None of this is true, and I'm going to demonstrate that with a little basic history lesson for those with strong opinions who know nothing. I got a lot of stuff written down, so I'm going to have to read some of it. There's been an unbroken chain of Jewish presence in the state of Israel since before Islam was a religion. There are Hebrew artifacts that have been found in Israel that date back to the 6th century BCE. Islam was not even a religion until almost 1,200 years later. The Jewish people resided in Israel until they were expelled by the Babylonians almost 2,500 years ago. When the Jews came back into the land of Israel, they built the Western Wall, which again predates Islam by a couple thousand years, and it still stands today. The Western Wall being the most holy site to Jews in the world. Then, after the Jews came back, the Babylonians expelled the Jews. Jews come back. The Romans come in. They conquer the land in the Roman Empire. They changed the name of the land to Palestina in an attempt to cleanse the land of its Jewish memory. When the Roman Empire fell, the land of Israel, now called Palestina, changed hands many more times, but one thing remained constant throughout all of this. There have always been Jews that have lived there, always. And this predates the Babylonians, it predates the Romans, it predates everyone. The Jews who never left, called the old yeshiva, they were always there. Throughout every century, up until the 19th century, up until today, when the Ottoman Empire... the 19th century, when the Ottoman Empire took them over, there have been Jews in Israel. So, to a little bit more of a modern context, because there was no land of Israel up until 1947, but before that, the land was controlled by the Ottoman Empire. Now, not a lot of people were alive when the Ottoman Empire was still a thing. It disbanded actually, I guess probably no one is alive, because it disbanded in 1914. I think 1913 maybe. But so the Ottoman Empire was at one point they had the largest empire in the world. But the Ottoman Empire was on the wrong side of World War I. They lost. And when they lost, their lands were divided up. Britain took control of the most of it. And in 1914, we got the countries of Jordan and Syria and Lebanon. Britain also took control of the lands in the middle, which are now Israel. In 1936, the British government set up something called the Peel Commission, which was supposed to decide what they were going to do with this land in the Middle East. The Peel Commission came to a conclusion that the problem in the Middle East was that there are two peoples, Jews and Arabs, and they both had claims to the land. They both wanted the land. And so the Peel Commission said they should each have a land. They proposed a two-state solution. This is in 1936. They said that the Arabs should get 80% of the land and the Jews should have 20% of the land. The Jews accepted. The Arabs rejected it. Despite the fact that it was an 80-20 in their favor, the Arabs in 1936 rejected the offer to their own land, their own Palestine, because they thought that the Jewish nation shouldn't exist. So we fast forward almost a decade to the formation of the UN following World War II. So 1947 comes around, I guess a little bit more than a decade, and the UN says that the Jewish people need a state because the Holocaust, right? We just watched World War II. We watched Adolf Hitler systematically murder 6 million Jews. So Europe said it'd be a good idea for the Jewish people to have their own homeland. The UN agreed. So the UN had a vote. The world voted that the land of Israel should be given to the Jews. Now, the Arab countries rejected this vote, but they were overruled. So the state of Israel is created in 1947. Once again, Arabs in the surrounding areas rejected this. Now, this time, they not only rejected it in a vote, they started a war. The 1947 war saw all the nations that surround Israel invading and attacking this nation in its infancy. Now, no one, Europe, the United States, none of Asia, no one came to Israel's defense. Israel defended on their own and won the war. No one thought they would, but they did. They survived the attempted slaughter of the Jews right after World War II in 1947, and they beat their neighbors. Now, I want to show a quick little map here. Pull it up so you can see something. Okay, so here is a map of the Ottoman Empire. Okay, this is in 1913. This is the Ottoman Empire before it's broken up. As you can see, this area over here is where Israel is going to be. This is all divided up into Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon, right over here. This is where Israel is, and then down here you have Egypt. Okay, so 1947, this map changes. This is what we're looking at in 1947. So this is a close-up, again, of this little area. See Jerusalem right here? So this is where Israel is, right there. So here's a close-up after 1947 of Israel. You can see that the state of Israel exists right here. This is what's carved out. Now, what will become important here moving forward are these little areas in gray. This is Gaza down here, and this is what will become known as the West Bank. Now, above Israel, you have Lebanon, Syria. On the east, you have Jordan. And then kind of the south and west, you have Egypt. Okay, so this is Israel, about the size of New Jersey. Very, very tiny. All right, so just keep that in mind as we move forward. We might go back to that map in a little bit. So this is 1947. The Jews win. The Jews win a war no one expects them to win. Even though they won, Israel lost 1% of its population. To think about that, this is the equivalent of about 3.5 million people in America. There are not a lot of Jews in the world. So 1% of the population is huge. Jordan, after this war, seized half of Jerusalem, parts of Judea and Samaria that they then called the West Bank. All of the Jews from those areas were ethnically cleansed. So go back to our map here. Helpfully. This grayed out area right here, Jordan controlled this after 1947. They called it the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and half of Jerusalem. Okay, all of the Jewish people in this area were ethnically cleansed. What does that mean? That means they were killed or expelled. So all of the Jews in this area were forced to flee. Otherwise, they would be killed, otherwise known as ethnic cleansing. At the same time, 700,000 Arabs leave Israel, some by force, some by choice. They go to surrounding areas, those other countries around, Egypt, Syria, Jordan. And these 700,000 Arabs who leave in 1947, they are put into refugee camps. They are not integrated into society. They don't become citizens of Syria, Lebanon, and Egypt. Instead, they're put into camps. And these countries don't take them on. 50 years later, those camps still exist, by the way. They're still refugees. The people who grew up, they're people who were born in the 50s who never left refugee camps because these countries refuse to take them on because they are politically useful. At the same time, we just talked about this. At the same time, we have Jews from the West Bank who are forced to flee into Israel. You have 850,000 Jews. So when they talk about the Jews being settler colonialists who expelled Arabs. At the same time, 850,000 more Jews are expelled from the surrounding countries than Arabs were expelled from Israel. So at the same time, those Jews are incorporated into Israel. So 850 Jews are forced to flee. They come back into the newly found nation of Israel and are greeted as citizens and embraced by the new Israeli population. There's a term in law for this, by the way. When Israel was created in 1947, some people say that it was illegal. It's not illegal. There's a term in law, very fancy term, very fancy Latin term, iudi possidetis juris. Excuse my terrible Latin pronunciation, but it is a term for international law that basically means that when a country is created, its borders must match the borders of a previous geopolitical entity that existed in that location. What this means is that when a country is formed, like Ukraine, for example, after the fall of the Soviet Union, Ukraine's borders are that of the Ukrainian territory that existed before it was incorporated into the Soviet Union. Israel, likewise, has borders. What this means is that it is, by international law, it has rights to all of Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. So anyone who claims that Israel is a colonizer has no idea what they are talking about, either from a historical or a legal standpoint. Israel is entitled by international law to all of that land. So, in 1967, when Israel is again attacked in an unprovoked attack and what would become known as the 6 Days War, they did not steal the lands of the West Bank and Gaza. They merely reclaimed lands that they already legally owned. Israel won the 6 Day War resoundingly. They defeated all the armies that were prepared to destroy it, and they were prepared to make peace. But instead of making peace, the Arab Summit declared three things: no peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, no negotiations with Israel. Despite losing the war, the Arab nations refused to deal with the country of Israel because they, again, think it should not exist. They were not interested in having their own nation. They already have their own nations: Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan. They already have those nations that surround. There are 36, 32, something like 30-something Arab nations in the world. This is not about a nation for the Palestinian people. This is about the destruction of the Jewish people. Don't make any mistakes. So Israel was again attacked. This is now the third time that they've been attacked in the 3 decades that they've been in existence. In 1973, the Yom Kippur War, Israel again won. They defeated the surrounding nations. But realize this, from 1947 to 1978, they were attacked in 3 separate wars. And these wars are not designed. They're not over settlements. They're not over anything other than the destruction of the entire Jewish nation. That's it. There's no other thing that they want. They don't want the land. They don't want the people. The people could be absorbed into their Arab neighbor countries, but they don't want the people. They don't want anything other than the destruction of the Jews. That's important to remember. Israel, in 1978, they negotiate a peace deal with Egypt. Egypt becomes the first Arab nation to recognize the state of Israel 30 years after its founding. And what did Egypt get as a result for normalizing relations with this tiny Jewish country? They were expelled from the Arab League of Nations, and the president of Egypt, Anwar Sadat, was assassinated. In the 80s, you had the first Intifada, a wave of terrorist attacks that rocked Israel to the core. Bombings on buses and train stations, bombing of civilians, just the killing of innocent people. 1,000 Jews in Israel died in the 80s because of terrorist bombings. Yet, despite this, in 2000, after the second Intifada, the first one was in the 80s, the second was in the 2000s, more buses, more malls, more terrorist attacks, more killed civilians, thousands and thousands of rockets fired into Israel. Despite this, the constant aggression that happened for the first 60 years of its existence, the Prime Minister of Israel and the leader of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, Yasser Arafat. They met at a summit at Camp David with Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton. The Palestinians were offered their own state. They were offered all of Gaza, 94% of the West Bank, and half of Jerusalem to use as a capital. The Palestinians were offered their own state, and they flat out refused. Yasser Arafat did not negotiate. He said no to every proposal. He didn't offer concessions. He said no. He was offered a Palestinian state and said no. He's not interested. The Palestinians are not interested in their own state. They're interested in the destruction of the Jewish people. Keep this in mind. In 2005, Israel unilaterally left Gaza to give Palestinians control. Palestinians have controlled Gaza for the last 18 years. Israel does not control Gaza. What did the Palestinians choose to do with their own state? Well, they elected Hamas to lead them. Hamas, who explicitly spell out in their founding charter that the destruction of Israel and the Jewish people is central to their belief. Instead of investing the billions of dollars that Hamas has received into making Gaza a nice place to live, that money has been used to build rockets to bomb Israel. That money has been used to build tunnels so that Hamas can sneak across the Israeli border to abduct and murder Jews in Israel. They're not interested in making Gaza a nice place to live. They've been offered their own state. They're not interested. They wanted to use the money to kill Jews. That's what they want. In 2008, Mahmoud Abbas was offered the same deal as Yasser Arafat, plus more land. He too rejected the deal. Again, all of Gaza, 94% of the West Bank, half of Jerusalem to use as a capital. The Palestinians said no. They're not interested in their own state. They're interested in all of it. They want all the Jews gone. The cry that you're hearing from people in the streets, these morons, these ignorant fools out there who are chanting from the river to the sea, that's what Hamas wants. First of all, they don't know what river they're talking about. They don't know what sea they're talking about. These idiots have no idea what they're talking about. Let's go back to the map. Here, let me show you. For those who don't know, let's get a little history lesson here. Okay, so what river are we talking about? Oh, how about this river right here? You see this little thin blue line, the Jordan River? Where is that located? That's located at the border of Jordan and Israel. And what sea are we talking about? We're talking about the Mediterranean Sea. So from the river to the sea, well, what does that incorporate? All of Israel. That's what that means. From the river to the sea is a genocidal call for the destruction of the Jewish state and of the Jewish people. And these idiots out there who chant it like it's some sort of fun little phrase. Oh, it rhymes. And what we want is those poor Palestinians to have their own state. They've been offered their own state. 5 separate times they've been offered their own state. They always say no because they don't want their own state. What they want is to kill Jews. That's what they want. They don't want to live in peace in the Middle East and be friends with their neighbors. What they want is dead Jews. And these people don't understand that. They don't get it. And it is so frustrating. It is infuriating to me to have to sit here and explain why siding with people who want to kill Jews is bad. You know, everyone in the world, to people on the left, to the Democrats in Congress, everyone in the world is a Nazi. Oh, Donald Trump, what a Nazi. Mitch McConnell, he's such a Nazi. Oh, we don't like Ted Cruz, he's a Nazi. Everyone, they want to call everyone a Nazi except actual Nazis who want to kill Jews. Their name's Hamas. When you wear their neckerchief, when you fly their flag, what you're saying is, I side with the people who want to kill Jews. We used to call those people Nazis. Now we want to call, right-wing commentators like Tucker Carlson, we'll call him a Nazi. But the actual Nazis who still exist, the people who want to murder Jews, from the river to the sea, let Palestine be free. Idiots. That's the nicest word I can use for them. Useful idiots. Oh, see, already losing my temper. Trying not to. For the people who think, by the way, that Israel is an apartheid state, you don't know the history of South Africa if you think that that's true. 1/5 of Israel's population is Muslim. The Muslims who are born in Israel, who have Israeli citizenship to the country, they're more free than any Arab in the entire region. They can vote. They can work. They are represented in parliament. One of their minority coalition groups in Israel is a Muslim group. that Israel does not discriminate against Muslims. They live in that society. And you know what's funny? When you ask Muslims who live in Israel if they'd rather live in another nation, you know what they say? No, they don't want to do that. Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. It's the only place where it's not a theocratic dictatorship and people want to pick on it. It's ridiculous. Can Arab nations, any Arab nation in the Middle East, say the same about Christians or Jews? How many Jews live in Gaza? You know what the answer is? It's 0. Because they'd be murdered. How many Jews live in Egypt? Why don't you find that out? There was 2. It was really famous. There were 2 Jews who lived in Egypt, in the entire country, and they both left because they said, we can't take it anymore. There are no Jews in the Middle East. Why is that? Is it because they're so accepting of the Jewish people? Hey, they want their own land. Why can't the Jews live side by side? Because they'll be murdered. The same, by the way, goes for a lot of Christians in the Middle East. You think it's just the Jews. It's not. Anyone who's not Muslim in the Middle East is at risk. How many Christians are there in Gaza? How many Christians live in Syria or Lebanon? What do you think would happen? Do you think I can go? I'm not the most devout Christian of all time, right? But do you think I could go as a Westerner and just live in Afghanistan? Would I be safe? Why is that? Do you think it's because I'm a Westerner? No. You're mistaken. There are no Christians there already. There's no brown-skinned Christian. It's not because I'm white. It's not because I'm from America. It's because of the thing that we represent. We are not practicing theocratic Muslims. That is what they only want that. It can't be any more clear. I've been seeing so many, I could go on and on about this. I've been seeing so many people on social media. I've just been trying to stay off it the last week because it's so heartbreaking to me to see so many misguided people. I could pull up picture after picture, video after video of these people walking, chanting, marching. In San Francisco, there's a bunch of high school kids, a bunch of dummies walking out of school chanting from the river to the sea. Again, they don't know anything. They don't know the river. They don't know the sea. They don't know the history. What they see is this misguided notion that every Western liberal views the world in, which is this lens of power dynamics. They think of, Israel's big and powerful. They're more economically successful. They're more militarily successful. They're doing better. So that makes them the bad guys because they have the power. And the poor brown people in Gaza are just the victims. No. That's not true. The liberals who are in Israel would be nicer to you than the people in Gaza. The queers for Palestine, what a bunch of dum-dums. Are you kidding me? They would throw you off of a roof. You want to be there with your pink hair and your septum piercing and you want to talk about how, the people in Palestine have it so hard. Why don't you go and see how they would treat you? Because I'll tell you how they'll treat you in Israel. They'll treat you just fine. But why don't you go to Gaza and see how they treat you? They'll throw you off the top of a roof. You know what those people, those dogs that broke into Israel to murder people, you know what those terrorists did that you're marching for? They were taking the cell phones of people that they murdered and they were recording their death. Imagine this. You're a parent and your child is at an EDM concert where they indiscriminately shot and murdered kids dancing at a concert for peace, by the way. They flew in. They murdered them. They take the cell phone from the kids. They record them murdering the children, and then they sent it to all the contacts in their phone. They were putting people in tires, stacking them up in tires, lighting the tires on fire, recording it, and then sending it to their loved ones in their phone. These are the people that you're marching for. You say, how hard is it, by the way? How many people have you seen? Why hasn't Rashida Tlaib come out and said, Hamas is bad, we don't like them? She can't say that. These people are terrible. They're awful. The Squad, Ilhan Omar, AOC, my Congresswoman Cori Bush, that idiot. These people are anti-Semitic pieces of garbage. And they want to sit there and they want to play this game looking at it through the lens of Western Marxism, where everything is a power dynamic. It's not a power dynamic that's at play here. Being on the low end of a power dynamic doesn't make you a victim. It doesn't make you the good guy. The people in Gaza are kept that way by people who want them to be that way. Hamas refuses to let people in Gaza leave. Israel, by the way, the most moral army in the world. They drop leaflets that say, we're going to bomb these terrorist encampments. Please leave. They drop bombs on buildings they're going to bomb that are called knock-knock bombs. And they drop them on top of the building. They're basically big lead canisters. And they shake the building to let people know, hey, please leave. We're going to bomb this building. You know what Hamas does? Hamas puts its rockets on top of schools. They put them in hospitals. They use their women and children as human shields, knowing that when Israel is forced to blow up rockets, when they're forced to kill terrorists, these pieces of garbage who hide behind children, when kids and when women, when civilians die, they know that the Western press and all these idiots like my congresswoman are going to say, how terrible is Israel? Look at this. They killed a kid. Meanwhile, ignoring the fact that that's all the Palestinians are doing. They're trying to kill Jews. They're not fighting a military battle. They're committing acts of terrorism and then using their children as human shields. Imagine that for a second. This is a great thought experiment I heard Sam Harris talk about one time, and it's perfect. Gaza, Hamas, they use their women and children as human shields. They will hold up their child and shoot from behind their kid, knowing that the Israelis who want to murder him, they don't want to kill that child. It works. That's cynicism at a level that you can't possibly understand in the West. And they will do this knowing full well that Israel will go out of their way not to kill the children and women in Gaza. Meanwhile, imagine on the other hand, could an Israeli soldier use a woman or a child as a shield? No, because Hamas doesn't care. They want to murder the child. They want to murder the woman. They want to murder the soldier. They want to kill everyone. The side that is deterred by human shields is better than the side that isn't. That is a flat rule that applies universally. Israel is deterred by human shields. Hamas isn't. Hamas is the bad guy. The Palestinian people, we can say whatever we want about them. We can say, oh, they don't support Hamas. Oh, they're just innocent civilians. I've seen nothing to suggest that Hamas doesn't receive widespread support by the Palestinian people. I get that they can't speak up if they're against Hamas because they'll kill you. I understand that. I don't expect people to be out in the streets. But when you look at the data that Pew does or any of the research polls that poll the Arab nations, the amount of people who think that Israel should exist is non-existent. The amount of people, for example, in Egypt, I remember this one, it always pops in my head. They asked how many people thought it was okay for there to be homosexual relations in Egypt. You know what the answer was? 0% of people they surveyed. The same was said in Afghanistan. 0% of people say it's okay. How about killing of apostates? An apostate is someone who rejects their religion. So imagine you're Muslim and then you decide you're an atheist or you want to convert to Christian. And an apostate is someone who rejects their religion. How about, is it okay to murder apostates? The amount of people in the Middle East, this includes Gaza, it includes Jordan, it includes Syria, it includes Lebanon, it includes Egypt, it includes the countries we're talking about. The amount of people who think it's okay to murder someone for rejecting your religion, astronomically high. You think in the West, everyone just wants to be free, live and let live. It's not true. These Democrats that we're seeing who are coming out here asking for a ceasefire. Oh, Hamas paraglides into Israel. They murder 1,000 people. And then you have AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, members of the squad calling for an immediate ceasefire. No. What's the punishment? What did Hamas do? Oh, so Hamas gets to kill 1,000 people and then you say, Israel, please don't do anything to respond. Don't do anything to protect yourself. Don't do anything to kill this terrorist scum who just murdered 1,000 Jews. Don't do anything. You're an anti-Semite if you think that that's the best course of action. I said it at the beginning. I'll say it at the end. Israel should march through Gaza and kill every single person who supports Hamas that resides there. Anyone who's innocent and wants to get out, I wish they would leave. But you know who's not letting them leave? It's not Israel. Israel said, please leave. You know who's not letting them leave? Egypt. Egypt said, no, you can't come into our country. Egypt doesn't want them there. They know that the majority of the people who are in Palestine, that in Gaza, they support Hamas. They don't want Hamas in their country. They're destabilizing. So Egypt, an Arab country, is discriminating against the people in Gaza. Don't talk about Israel doing it because Israel said, hey, if you don't support Hamas, you should leave because we're going to come in there and we're going to have to kill a bunch of people because we're not going to let this happen. That's defensive. This is not an aggressive war. There are no war crimes Israel's committing. The war crimes happened when Gaza flew in to Israel to murder Jews, to torture Jews. There are 200 people, Americans included, who Hamas has kidnapped, who they have raped, who they have tortured, who are now in Gaza. And Israel, and people are saying, oh, Israel turned off the water and the power to Gaza. Yeah, on the condition that they release the hostages, and Hamas said no. You idiots out there who want to act like Israel's the bad guy. This is like going on at 9/11 and saying, listen, I don't think we need to go kill Al-Qaeda because we should just have a ceasefire. Oh, I know 3,000 Americans were just killed. Okay, yeah, I get it. But, let's not rush to conclusions. You can argue about the wars in the Middle East all you want. Killing Osama bin Laden is a good thing. Iraq had its issues, but Saddam Hussein was a bad guy who deserved to die. Muammar Gaddafi is a bad guy who deserved to die. Those countries, the failures of the war on terror, those that we can debate that all day. But do bad guys deserve to be killed? Yes. Yes, they do. They absolutely do. And so when you sit here and you tell me that Israel should watch out, oh, they got to be careful. Don't lose the moral high ground, Israel. Israel will never lose the moral high ground because Israel is a moral country. Hamas and Gaza, they're not. They're not moral. They're bad. They're evil people. And it's important to have that distinction. And watching these people in Congress, that the people of St. Louis, my city, chose to elect this low IQ know-nothing that I have to listen to. Listening to them they won't just come out and say Hamas is bad. I went back through, I double checked this. I went back through and I read all of Cori Bush's tweets, all of her statements that she's put out since these attacks. She has not once come out and said, Hamas is bad. We don't side with them. They're terrorists. She can't say it. Because why? I don't understand it. Maybe her own anti-Semitism, her own misguided worldview, her own ignorance on all topics foreign. This is like at the time AOC got pushed on an interview about her position on Israel, and she had to go, well, I only know the talking points. I'm not really a geopolitical expert. And you say, well, then shut up. Shut up. If you know nothing, shut up. I don't want to hear your dumb opinions about this topic. I am a person who believes in free speech and believes in debate. I think that the Overton window should be as large as humanly possible because debate and argument is how you wind up with good ideas. You want to talk about taxes. You want to talk about the transgender kids in sports. You want to talk about what to do with our military spending, our Medicare, our health insurance. You want to talk about all this stuff. We should talk about it. We should argue because bad arguments fall apart. Good arguments prevail, and the best ideas should win. That's the idea. But that stops. There's no argument about the killing of Jews. Okay? That's not an argument because now you're threatening. You're saying we're going to side with the terrorists. Well, that's not a topic up for debate to me. You want to talk, words are violence? You know what's violence? From the river to the sea. That's violent. That's a threat. It's not a fun slogan to just throw around. It's a threat against the Jewish state and the Jewish people. And these people, the same ones who say that misgendering the barista is some form of violence, those people don't seem to understand that because this is actual violence. See, to them, actual violence is not violence. Oh, the Black Lives Matter riots, that's not violence. Those people, they're just upset. They're venting their rage. This is protest. It's what politics is all about. But if I call the guy with the long hair and makeup and the Adam's apple sir at the Starbucks, well, then I'm a bad guy because he identifies as a zimzer ziggity zoo. And yet they don't seem to get the difference in how one is stupid and one is violence. So I don't know. I'm getting all agitated. I'm going to try not to. I want to wrap it up here. This is a topic that we're going to have to deal with. It's a topic that is going to not go away easily. And there's a lot I want to get into about this that I could just continue going on and on about. Mainly the big one being how Joe Biden caused this, just like he did in Afghanistan, by funding Iran, like for no reason. But we won't get into all that right now. We're going to leave the too political of the attacks out of it. You know, attacking the squad's one thing, but I'm just going to let the president be alone because some of his words have been good. His actions have been weak and feckless, but some of his words have been nice. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm Tyler Chrestman, as always. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.